Chapter 6. Abdur Raheem Muhammed, Servant of the Most Compassionate. Abdur Raheem Muhammed was a scholar who found joy in studying the mysteries of the universe. His happiest days were those spent studying in Baghdad. However, when he was entrusted with the responsibility of overseeing the kingdom of Hanavia, he knew he had to set aside personal desires for a greater duty: caring for the people. As a student of history, he understood that justice marked the golden eras of human civilization. He admired the leadership of Prophet Dawood, peace be upon him, and Prophet Suleiman, peace be upon him, considering them the pinnacle of prophetic kingship. But he also knew his world was different. Among the caliphs, he most revered the leadership of Caliph Umar. Umar's rule was defined by faith, humility, sacrifice, strength, consultation, and above all, an unyielding commitment to justice. Abdur Rahim sought to emulate that model as best he could, though his challenges were of a different time. He initiated the construction of roads and canals, built schools for children, and universities for higher learning. He invited scholars from across the Muslim world, believing that the best way to uplift society was to surround it with knowledge and the people who possessed it. He carried the burden of responsibility deeply, often remembering how Umar feared that even a mistreated animal might testify against him before God. Umar had roads paved for animals' safety. Such was the standard of justice that Abdur Rahim aspired to. He trained judges across the kingdom in Islamic jurisprudence, derived from Umar's approach, grounded in the Quran, the sayings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the wisdom of early Muslims. He expected them to act with the same insight and fairness. One day, Abdur Rahim went hunting. After a fruitless search, he finally spotted a deer limping behind a bush. He notched his arrow and let it fly. It struck the deer in the neck. As he approached his prey, a boy on horseback leapt from the trees and reached the deer first. The deer had 2 arrows, one in its heart and the other in its neck. The boy declared, "This is mine." Abdur Rahim argued that his arrow had slowed the deer, and without it, it might have escaped. The boy laughed and pointed to the heart shot. "Do you think he would have gone far?" "All right," Abdur Rahim replied. "Let's split it. Half for you, half for me." "No," the boy said firmly. "I need all of it." Curious to see how the boy would manage, Abdur Rahim watched him struggle to load the large deer onto his horse. Eventually, he offered to help. Gratefully, the boy gave him 3 fine arrows. "Use these next time. Maybe you'll have better luck." Intrigued by the boy's confidence and generosity, Abdur Rahim followed him back toward the city. But the boy didn't enter through the main gate. Instead, he slipped around to a courtyard at a modest house on the outskirts. He whistled sharply, and the gate opened. Young girls rushed out, followed by an older woman. They helped unload the deer and dragged it inside. The next day, Abdur Rahim returned and knocked at the door. The same older woman answered. "I come on behalf of the king," he said. "A deer from the royal forest was delivered here. We need to know who hunted it and why." Startled, the woman invited him in and offered tea. She explained that the house was an orphanage for girls. Their meat supplier had stopped deliveries, and the children were often hungry. The boy from the forest was actually a girl named Yamina, who had grown up between the orphanage and her father, a mercenary warrior. Skilled in archery, she had taken it upon herself to hunt for the orphans. Abdur Rahim thanked the woman and summoned the meat supplier. When asked why he'd stopped supplying the orphanage, the man explained that palace demand had become too high. Outraged, Abdur Rahim decreed that meat should first go to the poor and banned meat from being served at the palace. Later, curious about the fine arrows, he summoned Yamina's father to the palace and asked if he could teach the royal armorer how to craft them. As a token of thanks, Abdur Rahim gave the man a rare book. The soldier confessed he had no use for it, but his daughter loved books. When Yamina received the gift, she was overjoyed and stunned to hear she now had access to the king's library. Over the following weeks, she visited the library often. One day, she noticed a set of calculations about the distance from Earth to the moon and corrected an error. Just as she finished, Abdur Rahim entered. "You!" she exclaimed, recognizing him. "You are the same man who tried to steal my deer in the forest." "But I thought it was a boy," he replied. "No," Yamina responded. "It was me dressed as a boy, since it is easier to hunt in boys' clothing." Abdur Rahim exclaimed, "Wait till I tell the king. I am sure he will be very angry that a slip of a girl bested him." Yamina calmly replied, "I am not afraid of the king, but I cannot lie because I'm more afraid of the king's master. But tell me, what are you doing in the king's library?" He laughed. "It is my library. I am the king." She was stunned. He noticed the corrected calculation. "Did you do this?" "Yes," she replied nervously. "Your math was wrong." "Do you know the punishment for correcting the king?" he teased. "No." "Well, the punishment is you must marry him." "That's blackmail," she shot back, "and my father chooses whom I marry." "Would he defy the king's wish?" "Probably not, but maybe he had a better suitor in mind." Amused by her boldness, Abdur Rahim proposed a challenge. Let 3 eminent scholars judge the math. If she was right, she could make her own choice. If he was right, his wish would carry the day. The scholars ruled that while both calculations were technically correct due to the moon's elliptical orbit, Yamina's was more precise on average. The people cheered her name. Abdur Rahim then asked what her wish was. "Tell me why you wanted to marry me," she said. "If the reason pleases me, I will say yes." He explained that when she said she feared God more than the king, it reminded him of a famous incident from Umar's life. While on patrol, Umar overheard a mother telling her daughter to mix water with milk. The daughter refused, saying, "Umar isn't here, but his Lord sees everything." The next day, Umar offered that girl in marriage to his son. Their lineage produced Caliph Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. "I was so moved by your righteousness," Abdur Rahim said, "that I wanted to offer myself to you." Satisfied, Yamina agreed, pending her father's approval. He gave his blessing. They married in a simple ceremony. The people held a great celebration. Together, Abdur Rahim and Yamina built a magnificent library and center of learning. Scholars from across the world came to study, share, and debate knowledge. The king and queen were often found sitting among them, immersed in wisdom, faith, and discovery.